Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Garrett stared at his computer screen, the cursor blinking mockingly on the blank application form. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitating to type even his name. The promotion opportunity that had appeared in his inbox that morning seemed to taunt him, a golden ticket just out of reach. He glanced around the office, taking in the sea of brightly colored blouses and flowing skirts. The marketing department had always been predominantly staffed by women, but the new division they were forming seemed to take it to another level. Garrett tugged at the collar of his crisp white shirt, suddenly feeling out of place in his navy suit. A knock on his cubicle wall startled him. "How's that application coming along, Garrett?" His boss, Mariana, leaned against the partition, her dark curls framing a warm smile. Still working on it," Garrett mumbled, minimizing the window. "Just gathering my thoughts." Mariana's brow furrowed. "You are planning to apply, aren't you? This position seems tailor-made for your skills." Garrett shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I'm not sure it's the right fit for me," he admitted. "The new division seems to be looking for a certain type?" "Type?" Mariana echoed, her head tilting in confusion. Garrett gestured vaguely at the office. More feminine energy. I don't think I'd mesh well with the team." Mariana's eyes widened in surprise before her expression softened. "Garrett, can I speak with you in my office for a moment?" Heart sinking, Garrett nodded and followed her to the corner office. He sank into one of the plush chairs across from her desk, bracing himself for a lecture on workplace diversity. Instead, Mariana leaned forward, her elbows on the desk. "Garrett, I want you to know that I value you as an employee not because of how you present yourself, but because of your skills and leadership style." Garrett blinked, caught off guard. Thank you?" "Let me be more specific," Mariana continued. "Your approach to team management is exactly what we need in this new division. You have a nurturing quality that brings out the best in your colleagues. You listen, you empathize, you find creative solutions to conflicts. Those are traditionally seen as feminine traits, but they're valuable regardless of gender." Garrett felt his cheeks warm. "I never thought of it that way," he admitted. Mariana smiled. "That's precisely why I want you to apply for this position. Your leadership style embodies the qualities we need, and it would be a disservice to the team to overlook you because of preconceived notions about masculinity and femininity in the workplace." As Garrett left Mariana's office, her words echoed in his mind. He returned to his desk, staring at the application form with new eyes. Slowly, he began to type, allowing himself to highlight the very qualities he'd been afraid would disqualify him. Weeks passed, and Garrett found himself immersed in the interview process. Each round, he leaned more into the aspects of his personality that he'd previously downplayed. He spoke of team-building exercises he'd organized, of mentoring junior staff members, of finding diplomatic solutions to interdepartmental conflicts. To his surprise, the interviewers responded with enthusiasm. They asked probing questions about his management philosophy, his vision for the new division, his ideas for fostering a collaborative environment. Garrett found himself growing more confident with each conversation, realizing that his unique perspective was an asset, not a liability. When the final decision came down, Garrett held his breath as he opened the email. His eyes widened as he read the congratulatory message. He'd gotten the position. The transition to his new role was both exhilarating and terrifying. Garrett threw himself into the work, determined to prove that Mariana's faith in him was well-placed. He organized team-building retreats, implemented an open-door policy, and made a point of checking in with each team member regularly. As the months went by, Garrett found himself settling into a rhythm. His team responded well to his leadership style, productivity was up, and the atmosphere in the office was noticeably more relaxed and collaborative. But something else was changing too. The more Garrett embraced the traditionally feminine aspects of his personality at work, the more he found himself questioning long-held assumptions about his identity outside the office. It started small, experimenting with softer fabrics in his wardrobe, letting his hair grow a little longer. He found himself drawn to articles about gender identity and expression, spending late nights reading personal stories that resonated in ways he couldn't quite articulate. One evening, as he was leaving the office, Mariana caught him by the elevator. "Garrett, I just wanted to say again how impressed I've been with your work in the new division. You've really flourished in this role." Garrett smiled, a warmth spreading through his chest. "Thank you, Mariana. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about identity and expression. I'm not sure where it's leading, but I wanted you to know that your support has meant a lot to me." Mariana squeezed his arm gently. "Whatever journey you're on, Garrett, know that you have my full support. Your value to this company goes far beyond any labels or categories." Those words stayed with Garrett as he made his way home. He found himself lingering in front of the mirror that night, studying his reflection with new eyes. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a different future, one where his outer appearance aligned more closely with the person he was discovering inside. The next few months were a whirlwind of self-discovery and cautious experimentation. Garrett began seeing a therapist who specialized in gender identity issues, slowly unpacking years of repressed feelings and societal expectations. At work, he continued to excel in his new role, but he could feel the ground shifting beneath his feet. As he became more comfortable with his evolving identity, he knew he would eventually need to have some difficult conversations with his colleagues. It was a crisp autumn morning when Garrett, who had privately begun using the name Tessa, scheduled a meeting with Mariana. Her palms were sweaty as she knocked on the office door, but Mariana's warm smile helped ease some of the tension. "Mariana, I wanted to talk to you about something important," Tessa began, her voice wavering slightly. "I've been on a journey of self-discovery lately, and I've come to realize that I'm transgender. I've started the process of transitioning, and I wanted to discuss how we can handle this in the workplace." Mariana's expression was one of compassion and understanding. "Thank you for trusting me with this, Tessa. I'm honored that you felt comfortable coming to me. Let's talk about how we can make this transition as smooth as possible for you and the team." The conversation that followed was everything Tessa could have hoped for. Mariana assured her of the company's full support, offering resources and accommodations to ease her transition at work. They discussed a timeline for informing the team and HR, as well as strategies for addressing any potential issues that might arise. As the weeks passed, Tessa began to live more openly as herself. She updated her wardrobe, growing more confident in expressing her true gender identity. The team's reaction was overwhelmingly positive, with many colleagues expressing their support and admiration for her courage. There were challenges, of course. Some clients needed time to adjust, and there were occasional slip-ups with pronouns or her old name. But Tessa found that the skills she'd honed as a leader, patience, empathy, clear communication, served her well in navigating these obstacles. 6 months into her transition, Tessa stood before her team, presenting the results of their latest project. As she fielded questions and guided the discussion, she felt a sense of alignment she'd never experienced before. Her outer appearance now matched the person she'd always been inside, and her leadership style, once a source of insecurity, was now recognized as one of her greatest strengths. After the meeting, Mariana pulled her aside. "Tessa, I just wanted to say again how proud I am of you, not just for your personal journey, but for the way you've continued to lead and inspire this team through it all." Tessa smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Mariana. I couldn't have done it without your support and the acceptance of this team. I've learned that there's no one way to be a leader, just as there's no one way to be a woman or a man. We all bring our unique perspectives and strengths to the table." As she returned to her office, Tessa caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of a framed award on the wall. She saw a confident woman in a tailored blazer, her posture straight and her eyes bright. But more than that, she saw a leader who had found the courage to be true to herself, both personally and professionally. The journey hadn't been easy, and Tessa knew there would be more challenges ahead. But as she settled into her chair and turned her attention to the day's tasks, she felt a deep sense of peace. She had found her place in the world, not by conforming to others' expectations, but by embracing every facet of who she truly was. As the afternoon wore on, Tessa found herself reflecting on the long and winding path that had led her to this moment. She thought about the young professional named Garrett, so unsure of his place in the world, and marveled at how far she had come. A knock on her office door pulled her from her reverie. "Come in," she called, straightening in her chair. One of her team members, Rachel, poked her head in. "Hey, Tessa, do you have a minute? I wanted to run something by you." "Of course," Tessa smiled, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "What's on your mind?" Rachel settled into the seat, fidgeting slightly with the hem of her blouse. "Well, I've been thinking about applying for that senior position that just opened up in the digital marketing department, but I'm not sure if I'm ready or if I'd be a good fit." Tessa felt a surge of déjà vu, remembering her own doubts when faced with a similar opportunity. "What makes you hesitate?" she asked gently. Rachel sighed. "I don't know. I guess I worry that I'm not assertive enough, or that I don't fit the mold of what they're looking for in a senior team member." Tessa leaned forward, her expression serious. "Rachel, let me ask you something. When you're working on a project, how do you approach team disagreements?" Rachel looked surprised by the question, but considered it carefully. "Well, I usually try to listen to everyone's perspective and find a solution that addresses the core concerns on all sides. I'm not one for shouting matches or power plays." Tessa nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "And when a junior team member is struggling with a task, what do? I sit down with them, try to understand where they're getting stuck, and work through it together," Rachel replied. "I find it's more effective than just telling them what to do." "Exactly," Tessa said, her voice warm with approval. "Rachel, those qualities, your ability to mediate conflicts, your patience in mentoring others, those are incredibly valuable leadership skills. They might not fit the stereotypical image of a hard-charging executive, but they're exactly what many teams need to thrive." Rachel's eyes widened slightly. "I never really thought of it that way," she admitted. Tessa chuckled. Neither did I once upon a time. But I've learned that there are many different ways to be an effective leader. Your empathy and collaborative approach could bring a fresh perspective to the senior team." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "I know it can be intimidating to put yourself out there, especially when you feel like you might not fit in, but I want you to know that your unique qualities are an asset, not a liability. The digital marketing team would be lucky to have someone with your skills and perspective." Rachel sat up straighter, a new light in her eyes. "You really think so?" "I know so," Tessa affirmed. "In fact, if you'd like, I'd be happy to look over your application or do some mock interview practice with you." Rachel's face broke into a grateful smile. "That would be amazing, Tessa. Thank you so much for your encouragement and support." As Rachel left the office with a newfound spring in her step, Tessa felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. She realized that in helping Rachel recognize her own worth, she had come full circle from that day in Mariana's office so many months ago. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of meetings and email responses. As the office began to empty for the day, Tessa found herself lingering, savoring the quiet moment of reflection. She walked to the window, gazing out at the city skyline bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. Her mind wandered back to the day she had first stepped into this building as Tessa, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. The memory of those early days of her transition at work brought a smile to her face. There had been awkward moments, certainly. The first time she'd used the women's restroom, the occasional slip-up with pronouns, the curious glances from clients who had known her before, but overwhelmingly, she had been met with support and acceptance. Tessa thought about the team-building retreat she had organized shortly after coming out. She had been nervous about how the change in her appearance and identity might affect the group dynamic. But as they had gathered around the campfire on the final night, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows, she had felt a sense of belonging more profound than anything she had experienced before. One of her colleagues had pulled her aside that night. "You know, Tessa," he had said, his voice low and sincere, "I just wanted to tell you how much I admire your courage. Seeing you be true to yourself, it's inspired me to be more authentic in my own life." Those words had stayed with her, a reminder that her journey wasn't just about her own happiness, but had the potential to positively impact others as well. A soft knock on her office doorframe pulled Tessa from her reverie. She turned to see Mariana standing there, coat draped over her arm. "Still here?" Mariana asked with a raised eyebrow. "Don't tell me you're planning to work all night." Tessa chuckled, shaking her head. "No, just lost in thought. It's been quite a year, hasn't it?" Mariana's expression softened. "It certainly has. You've come a long way, Tessa. We all have, thanks to you." Tessa felt a lump form in her throat. "I couldn't have done it without your support, Mariana. Without the support of this whole team." Mariana stepped into the office, her eyes serious. "You know, when I first encouraged you to apply for that promotion, I knew you had the skills we needed, but I had no idea how much your journey would enrich our entire workplace culture." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "The openness and vulnerability you've shown throughout your transition, it's created a ripple effect. I've noticed more authentic conversations happening, more people feeling comfortable bringing their whole selves to work." Tessa blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the impact her personal journey had apparently had on her colleagues. Mariana continued, her voice warm. "You've shown everyone that it's possible to be both professional and deeply human, that our differences and our struggles don't make us weak. They make us stronger, more compassionate leaders." She reached out, squeezing Tessa's arm gently. "I'm proud of you, Tessa, not just for the work you do, but for who you are." Tessa took a deep breath, composing herself. "Thank you, Mariana. That means more than you know." As they walked out of the office together, Tessa felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. She thought about the long journey from Garrett to Tessa, from uncertainty to self-acceptance. It hadn't been easy, but standing here now, she knew without a doubt that it had been worth it. The elevator doors closed behind them, and Tessa smiled to herself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities for growth. But for the first time in her life, she felt truly equipped to face them, not in spite of who she was, but because of it. Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.